Laura Martinez sat on a weathered bench in the park, her fingers intertwined in her lap, seeking a sense of connection that felt just beyond her reach. The sun filtered through the leaves overhead, casting patterns of light and shadow that danced across the ground. Life thrived around her. Children laughed and played, their voices ringing in harmony with the gentle afternoon breeze. Yet in stark contrast, Laura felt an overwhelming heaviness, drowning in the weight of expectations she could no longer bear. Each giggle, each joyful shout, seemed to echo the dreams she had abandoned. As a child, she had created vivid worlds filled with colors, laughter, and imagination, the promise of a future brightened by artistic dreams. But now, her father's words haunted her, a steady reminder of what she should be. "Art is a distraction," he insisted, his voice resonating like echoes in a vast, empty chamber. The pressure to conform stifled her creativity, leaving her feeling like a ghost of her former self. She gazed out at the bustling people, each involved in their lives, seemingly woven together in a vibrant tapestry that she could no longer touch. Laura found herself longing to belong, to be a part of something meaningful, yet feeling more isolated than ever. A cool breeze swept by, and she pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders, hoping to shield herself from the world's scrutiny. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Laura's attention flickered toward a solitary figure sitting a few benches away. A man with dark hair exuded an effortless calm that intrigued her. He watched her with an intensity that felt strangely affirming, his expression soft yet enigmatic. She caught a glimpse of his hand moving in graceful motions, finger gestures that appeared to tell an unspoken story. There was something magnetic about him, drawing her gaze like a moth to a flame. Was he lost too? It was as if he could see beneath her watery facade, the uncertainty that swirled in her heart. Their eyes met, and for a moment the noise of the park faded, replaced by a shared silence that enveloped them. Laura turned her gaze away, feeling the familiar pang of vulnerability. How long had she hidden behind her fears, shying away from opening herself to others? Did she have the strength to break free from the constraints of her father's expectations and embrace her truth? As if sensing her turmoil, the man remained still, patiently maintaining his gaze, offering a silent invitation to engage. Perhaps this moment, this fleeting connection in a crowded park, could be the spark she needed to reignite her faded dreams. But fear lurked in the shadows, whispering doubts that quelled her resolve. She was so accustomed to shielding herself from disappointment that the thought of seeking connection today felt daunting. And as laughter surrounded her, sharp and bright, the weight of choice settled over Laura. Would she continue to dwell in her isolation, or would she dare to reach out even just a little? Deep within the chambers of her heart, she felt a tentative flicker of hope, a gentle reminder that perhaps silence too could foster understanding. As dusk approached, the world became a tapestry of twilight hues, and Laura took a breath that felt heavy yet filled with potential. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to explore the unknown, to awaken the voice within her that had long been masked by silence, and to discover who she might be beyond the confines of expectation. In the days following that life-changing moment in the park, Laura felt a swell of nostalgia, mixed with a fresh sense of purpose. The dusty boxes in her attic had become a sacred space, where echoes of her childhood dreams mingled with her present resolve. One warm afternoon, she found herself sifting through crumpled sketches and half-finished paintings, memories of vibrant colors and laughter flooding back, drawing her deeper into the realm of what could have been. Among the scattered pieces, she discovered an old sketch of a whimsical castle she had drawn when she was 10. The sight of bright colors portrayed with innocent strokes filled her heart with longing. It tugged at the strings of her forgotten dreams, pulling her back to those breezy afternoons spent under an oak tree with her childhood friend, Eleanor. They would spend hours creating fanciful worlds full of adventure and possibility. "We're going to be famous artists," Elena had insisted, eyes shining with unfiltered hope. Yet as the years passed, reality eclipsed those dreams. Every time Carlos voiced his concerns, "You need a stable career, Laura," a part of her withered, succumbing to his expectations. With every word, he shaped her path, molding her into a figure of responsibility rather than embracing the artist who dwelled within. Determined to reclaim her artistic voice, Laura sought solace in her sketchbooks, resting on her bed in her small apartment, easel propped against the window. The soft light poured in, illuminating her as she poured color onto canvas, each stroke igniting fragments of her creative spirit. Nights turned into early mornings, and she immersed herself in art, channeling years of pent-up emotion into every piece. Yet, as exhilarating as it felt to unearth her creativity, the shadows of doubt loomed closer. On a grey day filled with rain, she sat in her modest kitchen, sipping coffee while scrolling through art websites, marveling at others' success stories. The feeling of inadequacy crept up on her like an uninvited guest. "What do I have to show for my efforts?" she mused, battling the insecurities that accompanied her passion. Overwhelmed by uncertainty, Laura reached out to Elena, eager to reignite the flame of promise from their youth. They arranged to meet at their favorite cafe, forgetting the years apart. As they laughed and reminisced, Elena looked at her, eyes sparkling. "You have to go for it, Laura. Create. Just show up for yourself." The conversation set off a whirlwind of emotions, lifting the weight from Laura's chest. Eleanor's words struck a chord, propelling her to make a decision that she had put off for far too long. But salvation from her constricting life wasn't without its challenges. The thought of facing her father's disapproval filled her with dread. That night, she poured herself into her art, determined to create a piece that represented her inner turmoil. As colors collided on the canvas, a tumult of emotions unfolded. Splashes of vibrant red for anger, pale blues for despair, and bursts of golden yellow for hope. It was raw, honest, a reflection of her unresolved journey. However, it was inevitable. The moment arrived when she had to confront her father about her choice. Sitting across from Carlos at the dinner table, she felt her heart pound heavily in her chest. The room was filled with tension as she gathered the courage to speak. "Dad," she started, her voice trembling slightly, "I love art. I want to pursue it." Carlos looked at her, brow furrowed. "Laura, you can't be serious. You need a plan, something that pays the bills. Art won't provide you any security. You need to think about your future." "But this is my future," Laura fought back, feeling her voice rise with emotion. "I want to follow my passion, to live authentically. I've spent so long trying to fit your mold. I can't keep living for your expectations." A silence enveloped the room, heavier than the words exchanged. The flicker of a candle cast shadows on their faces, illuminating the gulf between them that's grown so vast. Carlos's expression morphed, revealing a mix of disappointment and concern. He opened his mouth to speak but faltered, leaving words unspoken. That night, after the silence settled, Laura felt like she had let all the colors spill out, raw and uncontained. It was a risk, a leap into the unknown territory where dreams dared to take flight. But within the conflict, she sensed a flicker of liberation that wrapped around her heart like an embrace. In the days following the stormy dinner, Laura embarked on an artistic journey entwined with renewal and discovery. The fear of losing her father's approval began to wane as she found solace in rekindling friendships with inspiring local artists. They gathered in studios, sharing stories, struggles, and laughter, a camaraderie crafted through their shared passion. Amid all this, she often thought about the man in the park, Alejandro. He lingered in the back of her mind like an unfinished canvas. There was still so much she yearned to understand about him, the soft gaze, the understanding that seemed to transcend the need for words. One evening, as she stepped out onto a dimly lit street, a spark of determination ignited anew within her. She decided it was time to seek connection, time to find that quiet strength she had so often felt emanating from him. It felt like the perfect moment to explore a world where silence could speak volumes, where she could paint without boundaries, without inhibitions. Laura took a deep breath, steeling herself for the potential journey ahead. This time she was ready, not just to reconnect with her art, but to reclaim her voice in life, embracing every chance to discover the depths of her creativity and identity. If you're ready, we can continue with Block 3, The Fall and the Loneliness. As the weeks wore on, Laura's journey into art grew both exhilarating and torturous. The thrill of rediscovering her passion soon became clouded by an all-consuming self-doubt. What once inspired her to create ended up becoming an uphill battle against her own fear of inadequacy. One rainy evening, Laura sat in her studio staring blankly at a canvas that remained stubbornly untouched. "Why can't I do this?" she whispered, frustration bubbling up within her. The rain beat against the window, each drop echoing her growing insecurities. Self-doubt gripped her tightly, whispering that her art would never measure up. In need of support, she turned to her art community, attending various social gatherings in hopes of reigniting her inspiration. Yet even amongst the laughter and lively chatter, she felt an acute sense of alienation. Surrounded by vibrant conversations, Laura still felt distant and disconnected. "Where do I belong in all this?" she lamented, feeling more like an observer than a participant. Over coffee with Elena, her trusted friend, Laura felt the weight of her struggles spill out. "I feel trapped in my own expectations. I thought I'd find freedom, but all I see is failure," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Elena leaned in, her eyes sparkling with empathy. "Art isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. You need to embrace who you are, flaws and all. That's where the beauty lies." Those words flickered a spark within Laura. Maybe she needed to let go and allow her creativity to flow without judgment, just as they had in their carefree childhood. But the moment Lara felt inspired, a wave of anxiety crashed over her. She often thought about Alejandro, the man from the park who had seen beyond her walls. The memory of his quiet gaze stirred something deep. Despite her yearning for connection, doubt crept in. What if she let him down too? One chilly evening, she mustered the courage to reach out to Alejandro. With her heart pounding, she sent a message asking if they could meet again. As she hit send, a mixture of excitement and trepidation coursed through her. Their reunion brought a rush of relief. Sitting together on the park bench once more, Laura felt the warmth of his presence. They exchanged stories, and the weight of her isolation started to lift. Every word exchanged felt like a reminder that she was not alone in her struggles. But just as the connection deepened, silence enveloped them like fog. Alejandro's eyes held a sensitivity that made her heart race, yet she hesitated. Can we really bridge the gap? She wondered, wrestling with uncertainty. Then, following a week of self-reflection, resolve washed over her. This was the moment to step out from beneath her self-imposed shadows. Close to midnight, in the solitude of her studio, she picked up her paintbrush and poured her heart onto the canvas. Chaotic, raw, a representation of herself, stripped of pretense. When she invited Alejandro to see her creations, a mixture of nerves and excitement bubbled within her. Could she truly expose her unfinished thoughts and feelings? As they entered her studio, the air crackled with anticipation. Weeks of uncertainty melted away as she shared her art. "This is me," she said, vulnerability etched in her voice. "I'm still learning, still growing." Alejandro studied her work, a mix of admiration and connection etched on his face. "It's beautiful, Laura," he replied, genuine awe shining in his eyes. "It represents your journey." The moments that followed became a sweet, slow revelation. As they talked, she opened up about her fears and aspirations. For the first time, she felt understood, not just as an artist, but as a person in all her imperfection. Yet, as the evening drew to a close, doubt crept back into the corners of her mind. Could something real come from this connection? Would it sustain her? But this time she embraced the uncertainty instead of shirking from it. Just as her art was a journey, so too was her connection with Alejandro. As she watched him leave, a flicker of hope ignited within her heart. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new. The fall and loneliness might still linger, but she now held firmly to the belief that she wasn't meant to navigate it alone. In the intersection of vulnerability and connection, she sensed the first brushstrokes of a vibrant new chapter beginning to unfold. If you're ready, we can continue with Block 4, The Rebirth. The early morning sun painted the sky in shades of gold as Laura awoke, softer light spilling into her studio. She stretched amid her canvas-filled sanctuary, the remnants of last night's revelation lingering in her heart. It was as if a veil had lifted, casting light onto possibilities she had long tucked away, and she felt buoyed by a sense of renewal. Laura's brush dipped into a vibrant palette of colors, the chaos of her previous emotions transforming into deliberate strokes on the canvas. Each movement felt invigorating, a delicate dance between her heart and hand as she explored the themes of growth and vulnerability. Inspired, she painted, creating landscapes that mirrored her internal journey. A radiant sky kissed by storm clouds, fields alive with scattered wildflowers, symbolizing resilience amid adversity. Days blurred into a montage of creation as Laura lost herself in her art. The studio became a sacred space, filled with the laughter of friends who visited to share a meal and story. She welcomed Eleanor and other local artists to discuss their journeys and struggles. Warmth enveloped them, laughter mingling with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, creating an atmosphere charged with inspiration. Amid the joy, she noticed her boldness blossoming, growing into a newfound sense of confidence. Laura realized how the interplay of connection and creativity sparked life in her being. As she explored her artistic identity, her relationship with Alejandro also deepened. They shared walks under starlit skies, their conversations drifting seamlessly from art to dreams, philosophies, aspirations, and fears. One afternoon, as she and Alejandro strolled through the park, Laura felt that lingering hesitation once more. It wrapped around her heart, faint but present. "Do you believe in destiny?" she asked suddenly, her voice steady yet soft. Alejandro paused, considering her question, then nodded slowly. "I think we create our own destinies through our choices, through vulnerability and courage. Like in art, every stroke is a choice that shapes the outcome." His words resonated, igniting a flicker of realization within her. Each brushstroke was a testament to her journey, and just like art, her life was evolving with intention. But sharing that journey with someone else carved a new depth she was still learning to navigate. With each meeting, their connection tightened like an intricate tapestry, yet she often wondered if he sensed her lingering fears. One evening, while they shared dinner at her place, the table adorned with her art, she ventured to share her thoughts. "I sometimes wonder if I can really let someone in fully," she confessed, her voice catching slightly. "What if I falter?" Alejandro leaned forward, his expression sincere. "There's beauty in being flawed, Laura. Letting someone see your true self is a leap of faith, but it's often worth it. Don't hide the parts of you that are still evolving. Those parts make you remarkable." The sincerity radiating from him settled like balm upon her anxiety. Perhaps she could embrace her journey while allowing Alejandro into her world, imperfections and all. That night felt pivotal. They navigated deeper discussions, revealing vulnerabilities and dreams as they exchanged honesty. Inspired by their conversation, Laura returned to her easel with a fervor. She poured herself into a series of paintings, creating landscapes bursting with color and texture, reflecting the hope that was growing within her. One piece in particular emerged, vibrant flowers amidst a stormy sky, a tribute to resilience. Each bloom captured her essence, resilient yet gentle, beautifully imperfect. As the local art festival approached, she felt a mix of excitement and dread. This was an opportunity to share her work and connect with the broader community. Fueled by encouragement from Alejandro and her friends, she resolved to participate, seeing it as a rite of passage in her rebirth. On the day of the festival, the sun shone brightly, lending life to the bustling park filled with laughter, music, and artistry. Laura arrived early, butterflies fluttering in her stomach as she set up her booth, each painting lined carefully, waiting to tell her story. As attendees began to drift through the festival, her heart raced with anticipation. She shared the narratives behind her works, each story met with laughter and understanding. People connected with her creations, weaving their stories into hers. In that moment, amidst the connection, creativity, and warmth, Laura felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. The supportive environment breathed life into her soul, drawing her fears to the surface, but also empowering her with newfound strength. Conversations flowed naturally. Some moved her deeply, evoking reflections on life, loss, and renewal. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the park, Alejandro approached her booth, admiration evident in his gaze. "You've embraced your voice beautifully," he said softly, pride evident in his tone. "I can see how far you've come." "Thank you for standing by me," Laura replied, a warm smile blossoming on her face. In that spotlight moment, she realized he was not just an admirer, but a part of her journey, a fellow traveler on the winding road of self-discovery. As the festival continued, Laura found herself swept into a conversation with a local gallery owner who expressed interest in showcasing her work. Each word spoken felt like a seed planted in fertile ground, nurturing the notion that her art could touch others' lives beyond her wildest dreams. Days turned into weeks, and the thrill of the festival lingered in Laura's heart. With Alejandro's unwavering support, she took steps forward. Her art graced the walls of the local gallery, a turning point that marked the rebirth of both her artistry and her spirit. In the quiet moments, she reflected upon her journey, a sprawling landscape shaped by love, vulnerability, and connection. She had traveled through shadows into a light that illuminated the path ahead. Now, with each brushstroke, she painted not only her story, but invited others to join her in crafting their own. Laura realized that she was a continuous work in progress, a canvas still being filled. With hope in her heart and colors in her hands, she embraced the beauty of being both the artist and her own masterpiece. If you're ready, we can continue with Block 5, the conflict and the confrontation. As the day of Laura's gallery exhibit approached, she felt a bubbling excitement mixed with a gnawing unease. Her heart was light at the thought of sharing her art, yet an ominous feeling loomed in the background. The notion of vulnerability felt like a double-edged sword, perhaps revealing too much of herself in front of others. Then came the unwelcome call from her father. His voice was laced with that familiar blend of concern and disappointment. "I heard about your art show, Laura. I just don't understand why you're pursuing something so unstable. Shouldn't you be thinking practically about your future?" A wave of frustration coursed through her, pushing back the excitement she felt for her upcoming exhibit. "Dad, this is more than a hobby. It's my passion," she responded, trying to keep her voice steady. "Passion doesn't pay the bills. You've got to be realistic," he shot back, his tone a blend of protective concern and critical judgment. "Why can't you support me instead of pressing me to conform to your expectations? This represents my life and my choices." The urgency in her voice hung over the conversation like thick fog. "Life isn't about chasing dreams. It's about having a solid foundation," he argued, the words cutting deep. Laura could feel her chest tightening, the familiar tension she'd felt for years rearing its ugly head. As the call ended, she leaned against the wall of her studio, absorbing the silence left in the wake of his words. Her hands trembled slightly, filled with both anger and despair as she surveyed her paintings. They adorned the walls like beacons of hope, yet they also served as reminders of her inner battles. With renewed energy, Laura approached her canvas. In her fury, she mixed colors with vigor, allowing her brush to dance across the surface. She poured her emotions into her art, letting the vivid strokes capture the vibrancy of hope, battling against the weight of expectation. When the night of the exhibit finally arrived, the air around Laura electrified with possibility. Excitement pumped through every vein, but was tinged with a nagging sadness knowing her father would be there. As patrons began to fill the gallery, a familiar figure emerged, her father, looming at the back with arms crossed over his chest. Gathering her courage, she decided to confront the tension that had hung between them. "Dad, I want you to see what I've created," she said, weaving through the crowd to reach him. "This is my life, my choice." He looked at her, disappointment etched across his features. "You need to be practical. This is a fleeting endeavor," he shot back coldly. "I refuse to live governed by your fears," Laura replied, feeling her voice gain strength. "This art reflects my journey, my experiences. My choices matter." She paused, searching his eyes for understanding. "Listen, I just want what's best for you. This isn't a stable career," he pushed, tension bubbling over. "Stability isn't the only thing that matters," she asserted, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "My passion is what gives my life meaning. Why can't you accept that?" By now, the confrontation had drawn the attention of several guests, their faces a mix of curiosity and concern as they observed the argument unfolding. "Passion isn't a guarantee," he replied sharply, with a voice that could crack glass. "Maybe it doesn't guarantee success, but it gives me purpose," she shouted back, desperation lacing her words. "I'm living for myself, not what you envision. I need you to at least try and understand." The air pulsed with tension as her father's expression flickered for a moment, revealing the conflict within. A mixture of love and concern, battling against the rigidity born of years of setting practical expectations. But before he could respond, a nearby patron stepped forward, clapping her hands together. "Laura, your artwork is breathtaking. I can relate to the stories you tell. It's beautiful how you express yourself," she exclaimed, drawing others into the conversation about Laura's art. Gradually, the shift in focus began to envelop Laura in warmth, allowing her to breathe easier. With the initial shock settling, the guests shared their stories of experiences that echoed Laura's work, all infused with vulnerability, strength, and resilience. Elements of her journey they could all understand. Though her father remained quiet, she couldn't help but notice his stance soften, watching the unfolding discussions among her guests. As they approached her with compliments and reflections, Laura found herself whisked away into the joy of their awe, savoring the connection that her art brought. Yet, with each laugh and shared story, she kept glancing toward her father, wishing for a glimmer of recognition in his eyes, some acknowledgement of her fight and her evolution. But he continued to stand stoic, arms still crossed, detached from the warmth radiating around them. When the crowd eventually began to disperse, the vibrant energy still lingered in the air, but Laura's heart thumped heavily against her chest. She found herself standing alone in the gallery, the colorful remnants of the night wrapping around her like a haze. Minutes later, Alejandro entered, a genuine smile illuminating his face. "You were extraordinary tonight. Everyone was captivated," he exclaimed, brightening the somber atmosphere she now felt. "Thank you, but it still feels bittersweet. My father was here, and we had a horrible confrontation," she confessed, sadness creeping back into her voice. "Instead of connection, there's just this rift between us." Alejandro stepped closer, his presence likewise calming and supportive. "You handled it with such poise. Sometimes the most difficult conversations are the ones we need the most," he said softly. "I just wish my father could open his heart to the world where pursuing passion is worth the risk," she admitted, her gaze drifting away. "He might need time to come to terms with your choices," he whispered encouragingly. "You're already carving out your own life, and that's what matters. Keep pursuing what fuels you." A flicker of warmth ignited in Laura's heart at his words. "You're right. I can't let one moment of disappointment derail all I've achieved. I will keep expressing myself through my art." With determination returning, Laura realized she wasn't alone in this journey. As the weight of her father's voice echoed in her heart, she warmed to the strength that Alejandro's presence provided. "Thank you for being so supportive," she said earnestly. "I'll always be here," Alejandro assured gently. As she took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, both the conflicts and connections, she felt hope slowly enveloping her. She had weathered this storm, stepping further into her identity, and was prepared to unfold into the artist she was destined to be. If you're ready, we can continue with Block 6, the transformation and the resolution. The weeks following the exhibit unfolded with a sense of vibrant purpose driving Laura forward. Each morning, she awoke to the soft light filtering through her studio window, illuminating the sketches and unfinished pieces strewn around her. Inspired by the support she had received and by her own evolving sense of identity, she dedicated herself wholeheartedly to her art. Her brush danced across the canvas with newfound passion, blending colors as she explored new themes of hope, vulnerability, and resilience. The memories of her father's critical words lingered, yet instead of allowing them to weigh her down, she used that energy to fuel her creative expression. Conflicted as she still felt about their confrontation, she discovered that confronting her feelings through art brought a cathartic release, a way to transform her pain into beauty. One day, while painting, she felt an urgent need to reach out to her father. Sitting with her guitar, she began to write a song, allowing the lyrics to flow from her heart, words that conveyed not just her struggle, but also her longing for connection and understanding. It was both a message to him and a piece of herself that she needed to share. The music enveloped her, soothing the edges of her unresolved feelings. After hours of writing and refining, she finally composed a piece titled Bridges. It was raw and heartfelt, reflecting both the tension and affection in their relationship. The melody was filled with ache, but also a hope that seemed to echo through every chord. With a sense of courage swelling inside her, Laura decided to invite her father to her next gallery event, a showcase for a new collection of work that included the song she had written. It was a leap of faith, one she felt both exhilarated and terrified about. She drafted an invitation, mindful of her words, ensuring she expressed that this was not just another show, but a deeper exploration of their relationship through art. "Dad," she wrote, "I've been working on something special that I hope you can be part of. I would love for you to see what I've been creating, and more importantly, to feel what I have to say. You're a part of this journey, and I hope we can find a way to bridge the divide between us." Days turned into anxious anticipation as Laura waited for a response. When her father finally replied, she let out a breath she didn't know she had been holding. He agreed to come, his message uncertain but open, a flicker of willingness sparking in the darkness. On the night of the showcase, Laura stood before a new audience, her heart racing wildly, filled with both hope and apprehension. The gallery was filled with the sounds of laughter and admiration, guests mingling and appreciating her new collection. Each piece was a testament to her journey, the colors and textures intertwined with emotions she had released over the past month. When the time came for her to perform, she felt an exhilarating rush of energy. Taking the stage, she spotted her father standing near the back, expression unreadable but attentive. Swallowing her fear, she began to strum her guitar, the notes echoing through the gallery, intertwining with the atmosphere of the evening. As she sang, Laura felt every emotion flow through her, from vulnerability to strength and longing to tenacity. It was as if she bared her soul to everyone present, proclaiming her truth not only to them, but undeniably so to her father. When she reached the chorus, tears formed in her eyes, a blend of hope and heartache swirling within her. She poured all of her longing for understanding and connection into each note, the urgent plea for reconciliation wrapped securely in the melody. As the last chord faded into silence, a soft hush fell over the crowd. Laura took a moment to catch her breath, her heart racing. When she finally looked up, she saw her father standing there, tears glistening in his eyes, a mixture of emotions reflected across his face, understanding, regret, perhaps even admiration. When the applause surged, she stepped down from the stage, mingling with her guests while glancing back at her father. He approached her slowly, taking a moment before speaking. "I never knew that was how you felt," he said quietly, emotion tinged in his voice. "Your art speaks to me in ways I didn't expect." "Thank you for coming," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I wanted to share this part of me with you. It's not just art. It's who I am. I hope we can find a way forward together." For the first time in a long while, she sensed a shift, a space for healing where fear had once dominated. Her father took a deep breath as if he were stepping into new territory. "I want to understand. I've struggled to accept your choices, but I see now that it's not about me. It's about you finding your own path." His acknowledgement washed over her, a comforting wave of warmth. "I appreciate that, Dad. I want us to share experiences rather than let my choices create a divide. Your support means everything to me." They stood there, the noise of the gallery fading around them as they began to bridge the gap that had kept them apart for too long. Laura felt a sense of hope blossoming, and she understood that healing takes time, but take it they would together. As the evening progressed, conversations turned lighter, laughter filled the air, and for each interaction she felt a newfound closeness with her father. They engaged with the pieces she had created, and she shared the inspiration behind them, whispering new stories infused with her love for art. Later that night, as the guests departed, Laura stood outside, breathing in the cool night air, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The stars shone brightly above her, illuminating the path ahead. With Alejandro approaching her side, she smiled, gratitude glowing in her eyes. "I couldn't have done this without you," she admitted, feeling the depth of their partnership. "I just gave you the space to flourish, Laura," he replied, his warmth evident. "You found your voice." And she realized he was right. She had not only discovered her voice through her art, but had taken significant steps toward healing a pivotal relationship in her life. As she stood in the vibrant aftermath of her showcase, her heart brimmed with love, not just for her art or her father, but for herself, for the resilience that had brought her to this point. She understood now that life was indeed a tapestry of conflicts and resolutions, artfully woven together, each thread adding to her canvas. Laura took a deep breath, ready to embrace the future. Filled with a renewed sense of purpose and connection, the artist she had become, unapologetically crafting her own masterpiece. If you're ready, we can continue with Block 7, the new beginning and the reflection. In the weeks following her successful exhibit, Laura felt an invigorating shift within her. The air buzzed with a sense of possibility, intensified by her father's tentative acceptance of her art and Alejandro's unwavering support. Each day she immersed herself in her work, pouring her heart into vibrant canvases that reflected her evolving identity. One afternoon, while adding the finishing touches to a piece inspired by the sunset, an idea ignited in her mind. She decided to host a workshop for aspiring artists at the local community center, a chance to share her journey and encourage others to explore their creative paths. Just as she had embraced her own art, She wanted to provide a space for others to find their voices. When the first day of the workshop arrived, Laura stepped into the community center, her heart racing with a blend of excitement and nerves. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over the provided easels and supplies. As participants trickled in, their enthusiasm sparked a sense of camaraderie. "Welcome! Today we're going to explore storytelling through art," she announced, her voice steady and inviting. Laura shared her own story of struggles and triumphs, detailing how art had become a refuge for her, a means to connect with herself and others. As the workshop progressed, Laura guided the participants through various techniques, encouraging them to express their emotions freely. Laughter and chatter filled the room, creating an atmosphere rich with creativity. However, one participant, a young woman named Mia, appeared particularly shy and unsure. During a break, Laura noticed Mia lingering by her canvas, hesitation evident in her posture. "What's on your mind?" Laura asked gently. "I'm afraid my art isn't good enough," Mia confessed, distress edging her voice. "You're not alone in feeling that way," Laura reassured her. "This space is all about exploration, not judgment. Just allow yourself to create." With renewed determination, Mia picked up her brush, and Laura felt a wave of pride as she observed the young woman begin to paint. Witnessing her transformation invigorated Laura's own passion, highlighting her newfound purpose of nurturing others through creativity. Weeks passed, and the workshops flourished. Participants grew more confident, forging connections over the shared experience of art. Laura's heart swelled with fulfillment as she watched them embrace their stories. One evening, her father unexpectedly attended a workshop. "I wanted to see how you're sharing your passion," he said as he entered, looking around at the vibrant space. "I'm showcasing the participants' work next week. I'd love for you to come," Laura invited, hope filling her voice. "I'd like that," he replied, a hint of pride in his comment. As the showcase neared, the excitement built, and Laura prepared to celebrate the creativity that had blossomed in the workshop. On the night of the event, family and friends gathered, their enthusiasm palpable as they admired the art on display. When Mia presented her piece, Laura felt her heart soar. "This piece represents embracing fears and finding beauty in struggles," Mia spoke boldly, inspiring applause from the crowd. Amidst the laughter and warmth of the evening, Laura spotted her father standing at the edge, observing. Gathering her courage, she approached him. "What do you think?" she asked, her chest tight with anticipation. "I'm proud of you, Laura. You've created something truly special," he said, emotion filling his voice. "I can see how much this means to you and to those around you." Tears glistened in Laura's eyes as she felt his support wash over her. Their bond had grown stronger, transformed by shared experiences and understanding. As the night drew to a close, Laura understood that this was only the beginning of her journey. Surrounded by the art, her father, and the vibrant community she had nurtured, she realized the power of vulnerability and connection in inspiring creativity. Stepping outside with Alejandro after the event, the cool night air enveloped them. "I couldn't have done this without you," she confessed, feeling every ounce of gratitude. "You've found your voice, and it's inspiring to watch," he replied, warmth radiating from him. In that moment, Laura recognized how far she had come, not just as an artist, but as a person entwined in the vibrant tapestry of life. Ready for the journey ahead, she embraced each twist and turn, knowing that her art and life were masterpieces continually waiting to unfold. With a heart full of hope, Laura stepped boldly into her future.